Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello, and welcome to episode 229 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you, everyone, for showing up to another new episode. I appreciate it very, very much. It means a lot to me that you guys keep coming back each and every single week to listen to me talk about movies. I don't know why you come back each and every single week, but I am A-okay with it nonetheless. We're actually on the ball for once. We're ahead of the game for once in our life. To start off the new year, we're actually like 2 episodes ahead of the actual scheduling, so I don't feel as stressed out as I usually do. So that's awesome. So hopefully we can keep the content rolling, keep the ball going, and keep ahead of everything else. And finally this year, get out some mini episodes and some extra episodes because you guys deserve extra content. But seeing that I said that, I probably just jinxed myself because I know everyone around me is getting sick lately with this flu or whatever's going around. So hopefully that stays the hell away from me because I don't want it. Oh, the joys of winter and living in Canada, where once things start to get cold and snowy, everyone seems to get sick, and it doesn't help that you have a child at school because everyone around there just likes to get sick too. So it is what it is, though. But before we get into too much rambling and ranting, let's do a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
As always, if you guys are listening on Spotify, if you could, leave a star review, star rating, you could leave a 5-star if you wish, or a 4-star. Leave whatever star rating you feel like. I'm not going to ask you for a 5-star, 4-star, whatever. Feel free to give me 1 star. I won't like it, but it's fine. It is what it is. I want you to rate it whatever you feel like it deserves. That's the main thing at the end of the day. So hopefully you guys can come back to listen to new episodes and check out the YouTube channel and all that other fun stuff. Hopefully this content you guys enjoy. Hopefully we can build a community together. But like I said, if you could leave a star rating, that means a lot. Also, if you could hit the share button on all the podcast episodes or new episodes, that means a lot as well. Doesn't matter what platform you're listening to. If you could just hit that share button, it does help out a lot. If you're on Apple or iTunes, feel free to leave a review over there. If you're on Castbox, I really don't know if they have a review option. But if not, just, hit the share button. It does mean a lot. And if you guys want to keep in touch with me at all, feel free to find me on all social media links. All the links are down below in the description, but pretty much just type in @Typhonstein, and you pretty much find me on anything and everything. We're on TikTok, we're on Threads, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. I'm not active, or as active as I would like to be on all of them. It's a chore to really actually keep active on all these social media sites. I'm trying to do better. Maybe look at an app or something that allows me to post on one and post on all of them at the same time. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to look into it. If not, we're just going to have to, schedule our things out a little bit better, and get a better plan going forward. But the main thing that I'm active on is Instagram and Facebook because, they work together. So that's, thank you, Meta, even though I don't care for you that much, but thank you. And then we also are active on the YouTube channel. If you guys don't know, I've been posting weekly gaming videos for like the last 2 years now. Every single Wednesday on YouTube. I've been doing some GTA content. Seems to seen people are enjoying that. We also various shorts over there. I've been doing a lot of my artwork as little short content, so definitely go check that out. Also, there's old episodes of the podcast if you'd rather listen to the podcast or on YouTube. We're behind by a little bit with the posting, but that's fine. We're at least we have content to come out later on. I'm also going to be chopping up some of the podcasts into shorts and reels. That way, maybe we can get more listeners into the podcast, because I know that's what a lot of podcasts do, and I need to work on that content. Also, if you guys want to see me live stream, I do live stream on YouTube. It's been a little wonky lately, so I've been live streaming over on Twitch at Typhon, you can find me over there, and we've been streaming a couple hours a night for 5 or 6 nights of the week. So it's a couple more hours of content. Me and the guys just being stupid, pretty much. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely go check out the Twitch channel. If you want some more free content, you can just hit the follow button over there. If you want to sub to the channel, you can. You don't have to, though. Everything's free over there as well. So also, if we hit 1,000 subs, or when we hit 1,000 subs on the YouTube channel, I'll be giving away some free artwork. So make sure to share the YouTube channel as well, and follow it, subscribe to it, and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified every time we post a new video or we go live. I'm going to be going live to do some art drawings over there as well. It seems the art videos do better on YouTube than Twitch. I don't know why. I know nothing about this streaming stuff. I just know they're a little bit more active over there. So maybe we'll do some Instagram lives. Who knows? I don't know what the year's got planned yet, so it's going to be a fun ride at least. But with that being said, let's get talking about the movie at hand today. We are watching The Hills Have Eyes, Part 2 from 1984. Before I do discuss this movie at all, this episode's going to be full of spoilers. If you guys are new to the podcast, I talk about a movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest me. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1984, feel free to pause the episode now and go check out the movie, or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie. I'll either make you really want to watch the movie, or you'll just be like, you know what, I'm good, I don't ever want to see that movie ever again, or for the first time ever. But if you really do want to watch this movie beforehand, you can check it out on Tubi. It's free on Tubi. That's where I'm watching it tonight. There's 2 different ones though. I don't know why. They're both 1984. One says The Hills Have Eyes 2. Another one says The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. We're watching the Part 2 one. I looked at them quickly to see what's the difference. It comes out with different cast members, so I'm not sure what the whole point of that is. Maybe we'll check out the other one in our free time later on at some point in time, but we are watching The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. So, just so you guys are aware. I know you're already aware because you know the title of the podcast because you clicked on it, unless you follow the podcast and this is just coming up in your random feed. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But most of you probably just are searching out Hills Have Eyes and you came here. So I appreciate it. Another thing I've noticed, on Tubi, it says that the runtime is 1 hour and 31 minutes, which isn't a big deal. But on Google, it says the runtime is 1 hour and 26 minutes. I'm not sure where the extra minutes are or came from or went, but I guess it is what it is. This movie has a 3.8 out of 10 on IMDb and a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 78% of Google users have enjoyed this movie. Initial release date was August 2nd, 1985, though, it says. Even though it was filmed in 84. Or it says that it came out in 84. Apparently it had a budget of $700,000 to $1 million. The description, as read on IMDb: a group of bikers heading to a race become stranded in the desert and find themselves fighting off a family of inbred cannibals who live off the land. Of course, this movie has one writer who's also the director, and everyone should probably know who this is because it's Wes Craven. Best known for being the writer for 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. He was the director for 1986's Scream. He was the writer for 1994's Wes Craven's New Nightmare. As well, he was the writer for one of my favorite movies in 1991, The People Under the Stairs. In 2010, he was the writer for a movie called My Soul to Take. I remember watching that one when it first came out. Don't remember really liking it, so I think we're going to revisit that one for the podcast. I know that's the movie that he was hoping to take off on the slasher genre again. To become the new Freddy, because obviously he's the one that created Freddy. If anyone doesn't know that, I don't know what you're doing here, but that's besides the point. Also, while going over his IMDb credits, in 2004 1984. He's credited in a short called Freddy vs. Ghostbusters. I don't know about this short at all until now, but now it's something I really need to look up because I'm very curious about Freddy Krueger fighting some Ghostbusters. As well, in 1989, he did another movie that we actually covered on the podcast. He was the writer for Shocker, which has a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. I forget what I rated it, but I know I enjoyed it. As well, for the last thing I'm probably going to mention, and I know I'm missing a lot of other things, but in 1982, he was the writer for the Swamp Thing movie, and I absolutely love Swamp Thing as a character. I can't remember the movie, though, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's good. It's another thing we're going to add to the list to rewatch. There's also the TV show as well. I need to rewatch that as well. And as always, we get to the point where we got to talk about a couple of the cast members in the movie. The first one we're going to talk about is Robert Houston, who's playing the character of Bobby. He's also Bobby Carter in the original Hills Have Eyes from 1977. He was the director for 1980's Shogun Assassin. He was Maddox Soldier in 1979's 1941. And, you know, he's got a couple other credits, which I'm very curious about, I guess. I find it funny because in 1982, he was the director for a video called Playboy's Erotic Fantasies. And then in 1993, he was the director for Playboy Video Playmate Calendar 1984. But between that, he was also on an episode of Doogie Howser, MD. The next cast member we're going to talk about is David Nichols. He plays a psychiatrist. Also, in 2006, he played President Kellogg in Man of the Year. It's a Robin Williams movie I've actually never seen. In 2000, he played Professor Vindaloo in Gossip. Don't know anything about that one either. Also, this one, 2000. I know this movie, but he apparently was newscaster number 1 in the original X-Men movie. I have no idea who newscaster number 1 is. Probably is just a background character at some point in time for like a split second. But he's in an X-Men movie at least. The last person we're going to talk about is Virginia Vincent, who plays Ethel Carter. She was also Ethel Carter in the original 1977 Hills Have Eyes. She was Sally Bullock in 1967's Tony Rome, as well as Jenny Blake in 1958's The Fantastic Disappearing Man, which is weird because it says a Fantastic Disappearing Man, but the image on IMDb is of a Dracula movie. I'm not sure if there's just a different title or they just screwed up on the posting. I'm not gonna question anything. It's too late at night to do that. The tagline for this movie is, "So you think you're lucky to be alive." Plain and simple, right to the point. I like that one, not gonna lie. An interesting little piece of trivia. Apparently, though this movie was released after A Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984, The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 was actually shot before Elm Street ever went into production. Craven also claims that apparently 2/3 of the movie was shot before the studio halted production due to budget concerns. Then, when A Nightmare on Elm Street became a box office success, the studio convinced Craven to finish The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. Alright, now with all that stuff out of the way, let's get started on the movie at hand. This is going to be your final warning. So, if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1984, feel free to pause this episode now, go watch it on Tubi, and then come back and listen to me talk about the movie, even though you just watched it. Or just sit back, relax, and listen to me talk about the movie, and you'll either really want to watch it later on at some point in time, or you'll just want to avoid it. With that being said, if you're at home, get comfy, get some snacks, get some, Twinkies, whatever it might be, chips, pretzels. If you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. And if you're listening in the car, like a lot of you actually do, make sure to keep your eyes on the road at all times, alright? Don't want to cause any accidents or anything. Let's not have a bad start to the new year, like our fellow people over in the LA area. Let's keep it a little bit, nicer. No tragedies, nothing like that, alright? With that being said, let's get started on the movie right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
Way out in the desert, further than the eye can see, beyond all towns, all roads, where few have ever been.
Who'd put a welcome sign out here?
The hills still have eyes.
They'd already killed my mother and my older sister. And now the father is coming after us.
Somebody's out by the bus.
Way out in the desert, the family of Jupiter holds sway. The sand runs with fire and blood. And the hills still have eyes.
We got the movie starting out with the narrator being like, the following film is based on facts, and then they're talking about the unmarked road and the victims on the road and whatnot. You know, it's got a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre style intro. The narrator is also talking about what happened in the first movie, about, you know, the people going on vacation and how they got stuck on this unmarked road and that they're fighting for their lives once nightfall came, and that the hills still have eyes. And then the intro credits start to roll in. We see the hills have eyes part 2 font come up, and it's actually it's basic, but I like it a lot. It has nice little indents and curvature to it. You know, it looks a little rotted away. It's a cool style font. And then we just see it's nighttime. We're panning around the desert, and we can hear some sounds, some howling, girls screaming. You know, we hear some screaming of people saying, "Why are you doing this?" And we hear some gunshots. We hear the dogs growling and barking as we still just pan around this, you know, sunset looking scene, or maybe it's a sunrise. Can't really tell. But the intro credits are still playing. You know, everything's getting like dragged out a little bit as the music slowly starts to pick up. And then we see a close-up shot of Bobby's face as he's sitting in his psychiatrist's office, and the psychiatrist is wondering what happened next because he's discussing the scene that happened where they're fighting off the cannibals. He's telling the psychiatrist how, you know, it was their final fight and they already killed his mother, his older sister, and that the father was coming after them, and they had to do something to survive, and that they used his mother's body as bait to lure them in. And then we see a flashback to the first movie where we do see the mom sitting in the chair, and then we see Papa showing up to, you know, check out the mother, even though, you know, she's clearly gone. We see them setting up this car trap where they got a rope set up to the rim of the car. It's jacked up a little bit, and then there's like this new system, and they start dragging the Papa across the desert. But of course, the car stalls out. So then they go into the trailer where they have it set up to rig to essentially blow. Where they sneak out the back window. We see them hiding in the bushes, and then they go to check the trailer after it blows up, and Bobby's looking around, but we don't see Papa anywhere. And then out of nowhere, he just grabs Bobby by the face and starts, you know, smashing him up against the station wagon that's still left, and then his sister grabs up the tomahawk axe and just starts going to town on the cannibal's back. I'm pretty sure it's Papa Juniper. Is that the name? Anyways, Bobby has enough time to get the gun out, and he shoots Papa about 3 or 4 times in the chest, and we see him fall over dead. So then we cut back to the psychiatrist's office, and he's like, "So he's dead, right?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I guess so." He's like, "What do you mean you guess so? You blew him up? Then you shot him a couple times? You just hit him with an axe for a bit? You know, how can you not believe he's dead?" He's like, "You didn't see how he looked." Then we find out that Bobby's part of this racing team that's going out to the desert, and that's why he's having second thoughts about even going out to the desert because of what happened. The psychiatrist is like, "Bobby, don't worry about it. The desert's gonna be fine. Just go out there, have fun with your racing team. Everything's gonna be fine." Then we see this lady waking up early. It doesn't even look like it's early because, it's pretty sunny out. This guy rolls up on his motorcycle and, cuts the engine so it rolls up. And we see him getting off the motorcycle. He has this weird mask on for some reason with this giant-ass chin. And then out of nowhere, he goes around the house, grabs a ladder, and takes it up to her window. She went back to sleep, though, because, apparently she's a princess and doesn't want to get up, even though it looks like it's probably 10 o'clock, maybe 11. And the guy sneaks into her room. And then we find out, I think this character's name is Roy, and apparently that's his girlfriend. He's like, I was trying to scare you, because you always try to feel my face first, but if I have a weird mask on, you might think it's an intruder coming in to get you. Then we see the two of them showing up on the bike to Burbank Yamaha, and then this one guy picks up Roy and starts spinning him around because his name is the Hulk, I guess, because he's a little bit taller than them, so he's like, I'm the big strong guy, I'll spin you around like a helicopter. And then Roy goes in and starts making jokes with this guy named Buster. He's like, or Foster. I don't know why it sounded like Buster. But he's like, you been to the beach lately? You got a great tan. The guy's African American, so he's making a black joke. It's a different time period back then. And apparently in this garage that they work in, they're making this special super formula gas where they're going to send out as samples at first, but then they're going to sell it to one of the big gas companies and make millions, and then they'll never have to worry about working a day in their life ever again. And now we meet this guy named Harry who's doing a wheelie, and he crashes his dirt bike into the side of the building with a bunch of boxes. He's wearing a football helmet as well. He's like, primo entrance, huh, guys? I told the girls I beat them here. Aha, sorry about the boxes. And then Roy's asking one of the ladies, he's like, hey, is Bobby ready to hit the desert today? And she's like, Bobby's not doing so hot. He's actually doing the worst that he's been in a long time. And then we see Bobby, he's crying, freaking out. He's just having flashbacks to the desert where the cannibals were attacking him and his family. Then we have Roy talking to Bobby, trying to convince him that, they should go to the desert, checking on him, make sure he's doing okay. And Bobby's trying to convince them not to go. He's like, I think it's best if we don't go. We should stay here. There's going to be a lot of issues out in the desert. We just shouldn't go. And that's when we see them all getting on the bus to go to the desert meetup spot. And I think Bobby's actually staying back. And they actually stop at the spot to pick up the dog Beast for some reason. I don't know. I knew Beast is the dog from the movie, but they just randomly stopped to pick him up at this dog kennel area. And then as they're on the bus, I think it's Harry driving the bus, and he's doing this voice and talking about the story of the Jupiter family that killed the other family that's making fun of Bobby because it's probably Bobby's family. And everyone's like, just keep your eyes on the road, Harry. And we have a flashback to the original movie where the Jupiter's girl, the little girl that's trying to save the baby from being murdered, sees that the baby's dad is fighting one of the brothers, and she takes a rattlesnake and makes it bite him so that he dies or something along those lines. And this is all happening while Rachel's dreaming on the bus, and then one of the other girls, I think it's Cass, goes over and she's like, am I crazy, but are you breathing really heavy right now? She's like, nothing, I just have I gotta have the smoke. I just gotta calm down a little bit. Heat, desert, everything. It's just kind of getting weird. Then we cut back to the red school bus that they've converted into their dirt bike hauling vehicle. Driving farther into the desert, and there's no signs of anyone around at all. And then they're making a big deal on the bus because apparently today ends the daylight savings time. So they're like, we're going to lose some time now because we're silly and we're going in the desert. And then we see them stopped on the side of the road. And for whatever reason, instead of looking at the map inside the van or the bus, they have it draped across a rock and be like, so I don't know what's going to happen, guys. We're running late, but there's a shortcut right here. So if we take the shortcut, we're going to be able to get to where we need to go. And Foster's like, I didn't build this bike to see it collect dust. So let's go take the shortcut. So then take a vote, and of course they vote on taking the shortcut like idiots they are. Roy's driving the bus now, and then one of the other guys is like, hey Roy, did you see something flash over there in the desert by chance? Like, no, didn't see anything at all. And then one of the other guys screams in the back of the bus. The guy's like, we're out of beer, guys, what are we gonna do now? And then they're driving, they're like, one of the ladies is like, hey, do you guys smell gas by chance? And then they look down at the gas gauge, like, oh crap, we're almost on empty. And then they get off the bus and take a look, and of course they have a gas leak. But don't worry, Foster fixed it. And he fixed it with his specialty, his chewing gum of all things, apparently. So they don't have much gas left to get to where they gotta go. And then Cass is like, why don't we use the super fuel? And Foster's like, that gas, this bus, it'll blow up. that's how good the fuel is. It'll blow the whole damn bus up. So then they drive up the road a little bit longer, and then they stop the bus where they see some buildings, and it's like this abandoned looking mine area. There's some weird statues made of like steel and such. Everything looks pretty much abandoned. There's a camper off on the side, and then Harry comes out of the bus. He's like, yeah, I don't think we're supposed to be here. They're literally walking around for 2 seconds, all of them. And then one of the other girls comes up being like, anybody find gas yet? No, we're at an open mine shaft. Everyone be careful, okay? You could fall down at any point in time. Don't mind that big sign that says open mine shaft, danger over there. So like the Scooby-Doo gang that they are, they all decide to split off into little teams to go take a look to see if they can find gas anywhere. And then we see Beast walking into a building, and literally the door shuts behind him as he gets inside the building. Then we see everyone's like walking around looking, and then we see Cass is sitting on the steps of the bus, and we can tell that she's being watched from the hillside somewhere, because the hills have eyes. And then Foster's too scared to go into one of the buildings, and his girlfriend's like, typical black man being a little bit terrified to go into the abandoned building by himself, huh? He's like, no, there could be pythons in there. I don't do well with big snakes. I don't want anything to do with that building. Then the girlfriend starts to go in the door. He's like, sneaky, 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 where are you, boy? And Foster's like, woman, you don't even talk to me that damn nice. And I think it's Harry that comes out and stares Cass. Roy was part of it anyways. And he's like, yeah, we could take all this clothes that's back here. There's just so much random clothes in the back here. We could open a clothing shop if we want to. Yeah, that's because they're all dead people's clothing. So, Cass is sitting on the step of the bus. So it must have been another girl that got scared. My bad. But is Cass supposed to be blind because she's using a label printer to put Roy, I love you, Cass onto his helmet? And then Hulk comes up with Beast because Beast was barking at a raccoon up in the raptors. And he like has to grab Cass's by the hand. To be like, you gotta move out of the way there, Cass. You gotta put Beast inside the bus. Because, you know, he's not doing anything wrong, but he went 8 shit on a raccoon. So, I guess she could be blind. I just thought her eyes were really blue or something. I didn't really pick up on her being blind. But I guess it makes sense. Because when Roy shows up and sneaks in her room in the morning, she feels his face. So that would make sense then. I get it. I understand now. My brain's working. It's late at night. But then Rachel decides to go up in the raptor where Beast was barking at, and that's when she runs into one of the cannibals. So we see Rachel starting to fight with Pluto, and then Beast breaks his way out of the bus, and then Hulk and Cass start chasing after Beast. And actually, Rachel is kicking the shit out of Pluto. She literally kicks him off of this balcony area, and then when he drops to the ground, she jumps down after him. He hits her in the head with something, like throws it like a shovel at her head, or a little hammer maybe, some piece of metal. I thought it was an axe, but she's not bleeding from the head, so it wasn't something like that. But by the time Hulk and Beast get to where she is, Pluto's already taken out the back door and running up in the hills. So now we're finding out that Rachel is apparently the sister of Pluto. She was the sister that was stealing the baby at the point in time in the first movie. So I wasn't expecting her to be a normal human being at this point in time. But alright, I guess. And then everyone's making fun of Beast because apparently Beast keeps barking at rocks. And then Beast is having a flashback back to the first movie where he was chasing down Jupiter and Pluto, and where he actually attacks Pluto because Pluto's on his own for a little bit. And he starts, gnawing away at him. This movie is relying a lot on flashbacks, which is alright, I guess, because, building up the context and the story a little bit, especially if it's someone who's watching this movie for the first time ever, and hey, skip the first movie for whatever reason, God knows. And then Rachel's walking and they're looking around, and she's like, that crazy little girl that you guys were making fun of and talking about, and that was, turned against its own family to help the other family. Well, that little girl was me. And then Harry comes up. He's like, Rachel, no offense. You fell. You hit your head. You're going a little bit loopy right now. None of that stuff is real. It's all just, stories that people tell each other. And then as they're talking, Cass is out of nowhere. She's like, somebody's out by the bus. And then they're like, oh, Beast, we gotta go to the bus. We gotta go see Beast. Then when they get to the bus, they find out one of the bikes is gone. So then the guys are like, well, we didn't hear the bike start up at all, so they're probably rolling it. Out of earshot so they can get on it. And then we see them all getting geared up to go on their own bikes to chase down Pluto to get the bike back. And then they actually hear the bike starting up in the distance, and they're like, alright guy, we're going to come get our bike back, don't you worry. So it's actually Roy and I believe Harry are the ones geared up to go get the bike back. And at least Pluto has some safety in mind because he's wearing that football helmet that Harry was using earlier in the movie when he crashed into the wall. So at least he doesn't want to hurt his noggin if he falls over. Then as they're chasing Pluto through the desert area, they go through this one area. Pluto gets through it fine. Roy gets through it fine. And then this rope comes up and just literally clotheslines Harry off his bike, and Roy stops to see if he's okay. He's like, yeah, I'm okay, go get that goddamn bastard. So then Roy takes off after Pluto on his own, and Roy for whatever reason hits the red like NOS button on his bike to make the real good gas go, and he actually gets in front of Pluto, and then Pluto like crashes the bike. So then we have Roy chasing Pluto down on foot, and they're making their way for the rocky cliff sides and whatnot. Roy actually tackles Pluto to the ground, kicks him in the stomach a couple times, then Pluto pulls out a knife, and then they start tussling around in the grass, or the sand I should say, because there's a little bit of grass, but it's all dead grass all over the place. But they're fighting in the sand, and then Pluto actually loses the knife, and Roy now is like pointing it at Pluto, and out of nowhere Harry's like walking through the cliffside. He's like, Roy, you out there? You need some help? And then Harry just hears a voice whispering, being like, Harry, come help me, I'm hurt. So then he pulls out a little like switchblade pocket knife. Then as Harry's making his way through these rocks, he's like, ha, you don't fool me twice, my friend. Because we see another rope trap set up, and he's looking around. He sees it, he's looking up in the air, and the trap just goes all over the place. So Harry, being the wise ass that he is, he gets on the other side of the trap, and he sets it off anyways. And then he grabs the spike trap as it's slowly like stopping. He's like, nah, you guys missed me, sucker. And then we just see this giant boulder coming off the top of the rock and falling down on him. And then all we see is his arm just sticking out from underneath one of the rocks. Then we see Roy taking Pluto back to the bikes, and he's yelling for Harry. But of course, Harry's nowhere to be found, of course, because he's underneath a rock. And then Pluto's just like, you're never gonna find a friend. He's like, you should never went off the road. I'm not the only crazy that's out here. And Roy's like, you're right. There's a full busload of them. So then Roy's like, who are you looking for, Cue-Ball? And he's like, I'm not the one you gotta worry about. You gotta worry about the Reaper. Then back at the bus, they have this tire fire started. That way the guys can see their way back to the bus. And then they shoot off a gun in the air. They gotta hear that. They'll definitely make their way back to the bus soon. We see Roy making Pluto push the bike through the rocky area, but they're definitely not going the way they came. And then we see like there's stones and there's like these statues with bones and stuff. And they get out to this opening, and one of the bones has this rope set up, and we actually see Harry's bike arm just hanging off. And that's when Roy's like, oh, Harry, what happened to you? And then the Reaper, I think it's the Reaper, comes up and rescues Pluto, grabs him by the rope and drags him across. So then Roy gets on his bike to take off. He somehow sets off a different trap. It's like this net trap, and that drops him to the ground. And then the Reaper just comes up with his knife and just smacks him in the bicycle helmet, or motocross helmet, I should say. And then Cass is like, I think I just heard Roy scream. And then the Hulk says that everyone needs to relax and stop being so paranoid. And then one of the girls is like, we gotta set up a surprise for when these jokers get back, because they're just playing a joke on us. So then they set up this like pail on top of the door, so when they walk through, they'll get soaked. But it's probably not gonna work out the way they expected it to. So now it's nighttime. We see the Hulk and Rachel walking around, and Rachel's looking for like weapons that they could find, or blankets, or any kind of supplies. They walk into this one shed, and we find out the Hulk's like, this is a diesel generator. We can't use the gas for the bus, but maybe we can at least get some lights on in here so we know what we're looking at. And Hulk and Rachel get back to the group, and they're like, so you guys need to stick together and just keep an eye on everything, because this place is being used for something. We just don't know what yet. And Hulk's like, yeah, that generator, it's been used recently, so there's definitely somebody around here. And then Foster's like, well, what are you guys doing? He's like, well, we're going to go look for the guys out there in the darkness, because why not? So then Foster and his girlfriend decide to go look for some tools, where they actually go to the bus to try and get freaky. Well, of course, Beast is in there, so he's making a little bit of noise. And Foster's like, I just want to have a couple drinks, just relax, the both of us. Sure, there might be killers out here in the woods or the hills, but that's fine. So then Cass and the other friend are looking around. The friend's like, hey, look what I found. It's like, oh, well, sorry, I forgot you're blind, actually. We have enough candles in here to last this week. And Cass is like, well, I'm hoping we don't need them that much. And then she's like, I smell a draft around here. It smells like cleaning, substances. And I really don't know what's going on. And then we cut back to Foster getting on in the van, or the bus. And Beast is tied up outside of the bus, and one of the cannibal guys, I don't know which one it is, might be Pluto, is talking to Beast from the darkness. And then the one friend is taking Cass outside and they're walking and she gets all excited. She's like, oh, come over here. Look what I found. I found a shower. We might as well just, get undressed here in the darkness and, wash up before Harry gets back, if he ever comes back. So Hulk and Rachel are walking through the darkness somewhere. And then they hear like what sounds like fireworks going off. And then one of the dirt bikes rolls through and it has Roy's helmet on and Hulk picks it up and feels in the helmet, and there's blood inside the helmet. So then Hulk starts screaming at whoever's in the darkness to come get them. And Rachel's like, no, well, let's take the bike and get the hell out of here. Hulk and Rachel get on the bike to get away. And as they're going through the little desert area, Rachel falls off the bike. So then Hulk comes back, but apparently there's a trap getting ready to go off, and then as the Hulk's driving back, a metal spear harpoons him in the stomach and kills him. And then from the darkness we just hear a voice saying, Ruby, I'm gonna rip you up, girl. So now we see Cass moving on her own, and she's back in that building where she was feeling the draft. She's making her way through the building a little bit, and it's connected to the Airstream camper that we saw on the outside of the building. And she feels a fridge, so she tries to open it but can't open it at all. And she's feeling some newspaper and it says family of tourists, bloodbath in the desert. But one thing she doesn't touch is that there's a dead dog hanging from the roof. So Foster pisses off his girlfriend because he actually notices the other girl taking a quick shower, and he goes to chase after her, but she sacked him at one point. So then he goes to get in the bus and chases her down with the bus, but he runs out of gas. But as the bus is leaving, we see one of the killers coming into scene, and all we see is the feet and the machete hanging off. Somehow Foster loses Sue again in the woods or the desert, whatever you want to call it. There's a little bit of vegetation. And anyways, he's calling out for Sue, but then we hear one of the killers yelling out Sue or just whispering out Sue, and he gets scared and starts looking around. And then Rachel jumps on the back of him, covers up his mouth, and takes him to the ground, being like, "You gotta be quiet. There's some killers out here hiding in the dark." That's when Rachel breaks the news to Foster that Hulk's dead and there's some serious issues out here in the darkness, because she's wondering if there was any trouble at the mine. He's like, nothing that a new girlfriend would solve, but it is what it is. Then the other girl gets dressed from having her shower, and she looks over at one of the buildings, and we can actually see the silhouette of someone moving through the building because the lights are on. And she's like, hello, anybody over there? So Foster goes back to the bus because Rachel tells him to go back to the mine. And he goes back to the bus and he's like, I might as well stick my thumb out, this thing's out of gas anyways. He opens up the door, Beast takes off, and he yells at Beast like, you're supposed to be my bodyguard. And then we hear a little thud on the ground. He looks down, there's a little axe. He's like, huh. And then one of the cannibals grabs him by the ankles and rips him out and underneath the bus, and we just hear him screaming. Then we see that friend getting back to where Cass is. She's like, I've just been out here looking for Sue and Foster. You haven't seen them, have you? And she's like, oh yeah, you're blind. I forgot about that. Have you heard of them yet? Have you heard from them at all? Anything? Then the power goes out at the mine spot, and the one friend's all upset about it because she doesn't like being in the dark. That's when Cass is like, I found this switch a while ago. Maybe it's got separate light. So then she flicks the switch, and that fridge opens up. And Cass starts fooling around, and the fridge is like an entranceway into a tunnel system down below. That's when the other friend's walking around the building. She notices that the bucket of water is now on the ground, and the water's all over the place. So she thinks Harry came back and got soaked. So now she's looking around the building for Harry in the dark. She opens up this coat closet, thinking Harry's going to be hiding it. Harry's not, so she shuts the door. But then, out of nowhere, Foster's body, with an axe stuck in his head, falls out of it. She gets spooked, and then she starts to run away, when she then runs into, which I'm assuming is Jupiter at this point, maybe? And he gives her a big giant bear hug and just crushes her all in one, bear hug. I guess it could be the Reaper character that Pluto was talking about earlier as well. I'm not really too sure. So then we have Sue out in that mining area, yelling for anyone to come find her or see where everyone is. And that's when that guy was just giving the other girl a bear hug, just comes running right at her, throws her through a window, and then takes his machete and just cuts her throat. And we see Rachel, or Ruby, depending on what you want to call her, walking through the desert. And of course she hears someone calling for her name, and calling for the Ruby name, of course. And that's when Pluto then jumps her and starts attacking her. He's like, I'm gonna kill you, or the Reaper will. That's when we then find out Papa Jupe is dead because he actually did die from the first movie, and that the Reaper has taken over, and it's now Pluto and the Reaper taking over this whole desert, and that they're killing everyone and anyone they want and shoving them down the mine. And that's when Ruby's like, Beast is gonna get you. If you hurt me, Beast is gonna kill you. He's like, who's Beast? He's like, you know that dog that almost killed you 8 years ago? And then out of nowhere, Beast just comes right through the shadow and just starts trying to gnaw on Pluto. So then Beast starts chasing Pluto through the cliffside, and Pluto makes this long jump. He's like, you can't catch me now, Fleabag. And then as Ruby's making her way through the darkness, this trap comes up. It's got one of their dead friends on it, and it knocks her over. She hits her head on a rock, and then we just see blood just coming down on the rock. And then out of nowhere, Beast just finds Roy out in the middle somewhere and just starts looking at him. He's like, I can race. He's like, oh, Beast, what are you doing here, boy? Where am I, actually? Then Beast goes to hide because we hear Pluto coming. So then Pluto's face to face with Roy again and getting ready to kill him. And then Beast comes out of nowhere and just pushes Pluto off the edge, and he falls down God knows how far, and I'm assuming is dead at this point in time. You see Cass making her way through the building, and she's, touching everything as she goes, of course, because she's blind. She feels that the one light bulb is on, so she knows the power's on. And then she works into this other room where a helmet falls off of the upper balcony area, and it's the helmet that she put the I Love Roy onto. So she thinks Roy's somewhere in the building with her. Or at least that's what she's hoping for. And then she finds the ladder. So she decides, her blind ass, to climb up the ladder, even though this helmet just fell down from up there. So it's probably not a safe spot for a blind person to be, because she's probably gonna fall. Then out of nowhere, the Reaper character falls through the skylight, or not even falls, jumps through the skylight, and as he's landing down in the balcony area, his feet actually go through the floor and there's broken glass all over the place. So that gives Cass enough time to get down the ladder. She finds it really goddamn quickly, and then she gets to the back of the building really quickly too, because then she opens up that fridge again and starts taking the ladder down into the mine shaft. So now we have Cass in this basement mine shaft area, just freaking out because she's feeling some clothes, and then there's this skeleton across the clothes, and she walks into this animal that's hanging from the ceiling, and then she feels someone else, and it's Foster hanging from the ceiling. She's realizing he's dead as well, and she's just slowly starting to have a panic attack or a meltdown, rightfully so. And then she starts feeling around, and then she finds Sue dead on the ground as well. So as Cass is in this basement, she finds this giant glass bottle, and she puts some of it on her for some reason. And then she hides around this other area, and then we see the Reaper coming through, and she knows that he's right there, so she smashes him in the face with the glass bottle and makes it to the end of the mine shaft, where she finds a rope. And luckily enough for her, Roy's at the top of the rope, but then we have the Reaper at the bottom of the rope, and they're playing kind of tug of war. Roy's able to get Cass out of the mine shaft area, and then Roy cuts that rope and just tosses the other bit of rope down to the Reaper below, and he's all freaked out, being like, rope's broken now. So then he starts walking away through the mine shaft. Then we see Roy setting up this trap with this super formula fuel. That way they can, I guess, blow up the whole mine shaft. We then see the Reaper coming up to what is Roy's helmet with a flare on top of it. And then he's laughing and being like, haha, Reaper don't get fooled like Papa Jupe, no. That's when then Reaper confronts Roy and Cass, and he pulls out the machete, and then Roy pulls a little string, and the helmet falls over with the flare, but at first it doesn't light up anything, and then out of nowhere the whole thing just lights up. So now we see a ring of fire surrounding the bus and Roy and Reaper. And then at the other end of the trap, Cass pushes an engine block into the mine shaft, and Roy's holding onto that rope. He gets speed dragged through the ring of fire quickly, and then we just see Reaper hiding in the bus now to try and get away from the flames, and then he's standing beside the whole tank of gas, and he starts freaking out, and then the whole bus just goes up in flames. And then Cass and Roy are hugging because they're all happy because everything worked out like it should have. And then out of nowhere, the Reaper on fire comes running at them. Cass pushes Roy out of the way, and then she actually jumps out of the way in time, and Reaper falls down the mine shaft. And then we see the sun coming up. We see Roy, Cass, and Beast walking through the desert, trying to get their way back to civilization. And that's the end of the movie. I gotta say, it wasn't too bad of a movie. It's definitely not on the same level as the first movie. The first movie is really good. It's got much more detail in the kills and whatnot. I do like that Pluto is at least back for this one. And they do talk about how Papa Jupe did die actually at the end of the movie. I wish Bobby was in it a little bit more. That would have made for a nice effect for the movie, that he would come back and actually be throughout the whole movie, not just for the first 5 minutes. But it is what it is. On the Rotten scale of 10, I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 10. It's nothing great. I'm glad I watched it. Will I revisit? Probably one of these days, just not anytime soon. So now we're at that point in time where we've got to pick what we're going to be watching next week. So this one's going to be a first time watch for us. It's from 1996. It's an hour and 32 minutes long. It's a movie based off a TV show I loved watching as a kid. The TV show was Elf. The movie we are watching is Project Elf. I've never watched this. I've heard about it before. And guess what? It's free to watch on Tubi. So if you want to watch it before next week's episode, feel free to go watch it on Tubi before, the time comes. If not, just wait for me to talk about the movie next week. And with that being said, please check out the outro band, Blood Opera, Toronto-based horror band. Go support them. The main thing you can support them on is like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, Spotify. Definitely go check them out on Spotify. Like some of the music, share some of the music, all that fun stuff. As always, you can check out all of my links down below at Typhonstein. You can find us on everything. We're on Threads, we're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We have the YouTube channel where I drop the weekly game video every single Wednesday. Old episodes of the podcast over there as well, and short content. There's hours and hours upon free content, so definitely go follow the YouTube channel, subscribe, turn on the bell notification, that way you get notified when we go live with a new video, and check out the Twitch channel as well. Go follow that as well, that way you can see us do some live streaming. Playing a lot of GTA Online lately. Just
me and the guys just having some fun, doing stupid stuff, doing a couple missions, trying not to rage, and sometimes raging does happen. So definitely go check out the Twitch account as well. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.